How do you take a price increase? It's a question that's on everybody's mind right now in this economy that we're in. I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. That's the topic for today's show, and it begins right now.
You're listening to the Sales Hunter Podcast with Mark Hunter, where the focus is to help you as a sales leader sell with confidence and integrity. And now here's your host.
Hey, we're in an era right now where taking a price increase or being prepared to take a price increase is becoming more important than ever. And there's some certain strategies and some certain pieces that you want to walk through. Now, in my book, High Profit Selling, I go through quite a few strategies. I lifted out a few, and I'm going to share them here today in today's podcast. First of all, you got to understand that there's basically three things that you have to balance. Three things that you have to balance when it comes to a price increase, and you need to figure out which one. And then what I'll do is, after I explain that, I'll share with you the exact strategy as to how to present the price increase, because this is so key. How you present it is going to determine whether or not the customer accepts it. So let's walk through right now. There are three things that you're balancing. One, you're balancing market share, you're balancing your margin, and you're balancing customer loyalty. And you're balancing all three, but you can't balance all three. You have to focus on one. And you focus on one, hoping that it's going to carry the other two. Let me explain this. Market share, margin, customer loyalty. Market share. If your customers have to raise prices and you can find a way to take costs out of your system in other areas, then don't raise them and grow share. Back during the great R, I can't use that word that comes after that R. This is 08, 09 period. I was managing a distribution facility, and we did just that. I was able to take costs out of the system, and I was able to hold costs, and we were able to grab a tremendous amount of market share. Second one I said was margin. You may not be able to hold price because, again, you're constrained and you need the cash. Fine, raise your prices. But be upfront with your customer, saying what you're doing, but don't create a surcharge for tariffs or something of that nature. Here's why. We've seen this time and time again in the history of business over the last 20 years. Energy surcharge, COVID surcharge, all these types of things. What happens is whenever there's a variation, whenever there's a change, customers always demand it to change. And it winds up tying you up in knots. So my suggestion is this. I tell people, don't allow it to be a tariff surcharge. Take the price increase to what you need it to be to cover tariffs or anything else, labor, etc. Let them know that's what you're doing it, but put it into your base price. Here's the reason. This way, then, when you get wiggles and shakes in terms of labor costs, or you get wiggles and shakes in terms of tariffs or something like that, you don't always have to come back and do all these line entry adjustments for customer invoices. The third one is customer loyalty. Customer loyalty. This is where you may have a couple customers they're the bulk of your business. They might be two customers that are 60, 65% of your business. And if you increase prices to them, you run the risk of losing their business. You need customer loyalty. So what you're going to say is this: I'm going to keep the prices the same for my best customers. So in this case, I said two, maybe doing 60% of your business. Or you may have 3 or 4 customers that are they're the high profile customers in the industry. They only represent 10 or 20%, but you know what? You're going to protect them. You're going to protect them with existing price. In other words, you're not going to raise price on them. This is going to create customer loyalty. Now, make sure you tell them that's what you're doing. And then what you're going to do is you're going to raise the price on your other customers and all new customers. So in other words, you're going to balance it out. You're going to have lower prices with some customers, and you're going to have higher prices with others. But it balances itself out. Okay, now let's talk about how you present the price increase. Here's the thing. You don't ask a customer about a price increase. You tell them what it is. You tell them. If you ask the customer, is this okay if we raise your prices? What do you think they're going to say? They're going to balk all over it. Here's the deal. If you do a price increase now or anytime in the next few months, when tariffs are very much on everybody's mind, you have a good chance of getting them through because customers are expecting them. If customers push back, your question is, how are you handling price increases in your cost to your customers? And they're going to sit there and say that they're undoubtedly passing them on. That they may try to say they're not, but you know they are. Two, you can argue, you can state this. This is what your new price is going to be. And we're having to do this because we want to maintain the same quality, the same assurance of service, the same support that you've come to expect from us. In other words, you're saying we're taking this price increase because we have increased costs, and we're doing it so we can maintain the same level of service, support, and treat you the same way. In other words, and again, it's good, but never put it out there and say, what do you think? Now, should you give the customer a buying window? Yes, give the customer a buying window. It may be a 2-week window, it may be a 4-week window. You may offer them the ability to buy X amount of product for X amount of time, X amount of quantity. Fine, but make sure you know that up front. But do not sit there and think that you're going to negotiate with customers, because they'll take your lunch. Here's the thing. When you present your price, you present it eyeball to eyeball. In other words, it's on Zoom, it's on Teams, it's face-to-face, it's something like that. Don't do it by putting a little note on the bottom of an invoice. You tell it to them. And when you do it, you have to do it with eye contact, body language, and a firm voice. Because if you don't believe in your price increase, your customers won't, and they will push back. Here's the deal. Customers may very quickly threaten, oh, you take a price increase on us and we're going to be forced to go somewhere else. No, they're not. No, they're not. No. Be confident. Be confident. Because if you need that new price, you can't sit there and allow some customers to not take it. You can't do that if this is part of your strategy. You have to stick with it. And this is where sometimes your most profitable business might be customers that you lose. That's okay. But customers will threaten to go somewhere else, but they rarely do. They always stay with you. Okay, I've shared with you a few strategies, a few things. Let me know your thoughts on this. And again, my book, High Profit Selling, I talk a lot about how do you take a price increase. My name is Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. You've been listening to the Sales Hunter podcast, 2 episodes a week, one a short one like this, single topic. Second episode, we do a deep dive with a subject matter expert. The goal? It's my definition of sales, to help you see and achieve what you didn't think was possible. Hey, subscribe to the show, leave us a review, and tell others about it, okay? And most of all, great selling.